Hello, who's Joe here? Welcome to Let's H. My comics launched on Wednesday last week. I'm very excited about all of them. One of them is an anthology of various really fun comics. If you like magic, hot dudes, and fantasy, Black Goats, which is the first comic on the Long Library, will be for you. Just check it out at longlibrary.com. That's LONGLIBRARY.com. I also have another kinkier comic that may be appealing to some of you and has tested really well with test reading audiences. Very sweet, very romantic, and a little kinky. It's at thesplashpages.com. That's THESPLASHPAGES.com. Check it out today. You can subscribe by following on Tumblr, or you can check out the RSS feed on both comics. So today I thought I would talk about something that was on my mind and give a kind of a short review of something I've seen in the last day or two. Some of the old format for Let's H really didn't work for me, and I wasn't getting what I wanted from it, and I didn't think I was giving you what you wanted either. So I thought I'll just open up and talk to you and let it be like a conversation between friends. So listen and enjoy, and if you want to comment below, and I will try and address your comments. I always try and address everything. Please do comment on Let's H, comment on my comics, message me on Twitter, message me on Tumblr, message me anywhere you see a link for if you want to talk with me, because I want to engage you in a conversation as well. My topic for this time is American Horror Story, Hotel. I know some of you have probably tuned into it, and I'm not a really big American Horror Story fan, honestly. I've seen some of the previous series. I actually have a review of Coven, but it's really long, and at the time I didn't know nearly as much about sound production as I do now, so maybe I'll be able to get that up sometime soon, but it's a very long review. If you'd like to hear me talk, you'll really enjoy it. So I really liked the concept of a hotel with weird things happening in it. I love creepy hotels. I love hotels in general. I think it's a really neat idea, and the design for the hotel, the concept for the hotel itself, was very neat. Unfortunately, the reality of it doesn't really follow through with that, and as a result, you get kind of a not very good first impression. You start out with Inga 1 and Inga 2, which is what I'm calling these characters because I cannot remember the names of hardly anybody because none of the characters made really any kind of impact. Inga 1 and Inga 2 check into the hotel, even though the website where they booked their rooms was deceptive in its advertising. Now, this is the first and possibly biggest problem I have so far, is the fact that this hotel has a website? Bullshit. This hotel does not have a website. I cannot buy that. That is just like, there is so much willing suspension of disbelief that I can do, and that's not part of it. I would sooner believe that someone's great-grandparents have a website than this hotel has a website. Further, nothing in the hotel is actually really hidden. Like, no real effort is made to remove things from what anybody could stumble onto, or hide anything that's suspicious or incriminating. You could look around for 5 minutes and find something that would be evidence of a major crime. This detective that comes into the story later is a joke. Any asshole could Forrest Gump around this fucking hotel and find no end of crap that could give them reasonable cause to believe that something major has been done there. Nobody would stay at this hotel either. It's a cool lobby, but the rest is either nonsense or has a bland room layout. Which, yeah, I understand it's a hotel, but it could at least be interesting. It's not really even creepy. And they have all these weird accoutrements to it. Like, Inga 1 and Inga 2 stay in a hotel room that apparently has, like, silverware in it. I have never stayed at a hotel in my life that has silverware in it. I understand that some hotels are more residential, and that is understandable, but this is not that kind of hotel, or at least it's not presented as that kind of hotel. Maybe it's just a local thing, but it doesn't really seem to be something that's very well built up. And it seems like the silverware's only even there just because they want to do something with that scene, not that it actually makes sense. It's just supposed to be a shocking image, and considering that the creator had said that at this point he's just doing it for animated GIFs, I wouldn't doubt that. I wouldn't question that, because basically that's all it comes off as. And after Inga 1 and Inga 2 see the things they do, there's literally no reason why they would really remain there. Why would you even go downstairs and involve the bitch at the front desk? She was an asshole to you. She's continued to be an asshole to you. Call it a loss and leave. I know it's supposed to be giving us suspense by people doing things that we don't want them to do. However, this is not that sort of case. This isn't building suspense because ultimately we don't care about any of these characters. They're just stupid. And it's in a stupid circumstance with stupid things happening. It's an exercise in frustration, or would be if it weren't so boring. It's more like American boredom story. Nothing really engages you, nothing really stimulates you, it's just dull, and you end up thinking, when is this scene going to end? It's one thing to watch a horror film and really want to see the next scene because you want to see what happens next. In this case, it's you wanting to see the next scene because you're wondering if they're actually going to make anything happen in the next scene. And once Inga and Inga have something happen and get the bitch at the front desk involved, she tries to threaten them and says that the cops are going to arrest them. I don't think so. I mean, that's a great idea for an international incident, which is probably not something you want to have happen at your murder hotel. This is what really frustrates me. Like, they keep trying to imply these things. They keep casually involving people that could compromise what they're doing here. They even make a big deal. Like, at one point, Lady Gaga, whom I refuse to call by her character name because she's basically playing a dumbed-down version of Lady Gaga, says, "This can never happen again." Well, why? You're not making any effort to hide anything else? Why don't you just kill people in the open? Who gives a shit, obviously? Then we have this stupid commandment killer or something. Whatever. It's overcomplicating the plot with completely unnecessary plot elements. I know pretty much every other American Horror Story series has done this. It's brought in something that is pretty much superfluous, just completely nothing to do with any of the rest of the story. But none of these stories ever benefits from that. All of the time, it's some sort of serial killer or something like that, or fucking aliens, like, who knows what the fuck it is, but it doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant to what else is going on here. It would be better if they tried to concentrate and make something interesting out of what is actually going on at this hotel, instead of bringing in shit from elsewhere that doesn't really have anything to do with this central plot. There are so many friggin' plot lines brought up, and you know they're never going to be resolved. American Horror Story is about, more than anything else, writing checks it cannot cash. It keeps introducing stuff that makes people continue watching because they think, oh, this is going to be really interesting when they finally tie this up, and they never do. Like, half of them never tied up, never resolved, nothing's happened with them. I'd also like to point out, Seven was not a good movie. Seven was not a good movie. It was a piece of shit. It was an overrated piece of shit. Nobody wants to see it again. Nobody wants to see it done as American Horror Story specifically. And I know that Ryan Murphy loves to, copy-paste things into things, and it can work. It can work as an homage. It can work as a parody, even, or a commentary, or a satire. Seven is not one of those things that you think, yeah, this needs to be in a plot about a vampire bitch that owns a hotel. That's not something that goes through your mind. And segueing from that, we have a camp gay detective. I know this may be insensitive to say, but he's so camp that you really cannot take him seriously in the role that he's playing. I mean, I don't know the actor, but you really shouldn't camp it up when you're trying to portray some hard-as-nails serious detective who's also a family man. I don't buy this dude in any element of his role. He just seems like some dude they got from the club who really takes himself way the fuck too seriously. I definitely don't buy him as a family man. I certainly don't buy him as dedicated to his wife or his family. And despite reading Little Women with his daughter, I don't buy really any element of his family, much less his relationship with them. But going from that, you also don't take a bunch of personal calls in your office while you're on the clock and then refuse business calls that are clearly something to do with your professional role. You don't do that. That option is not open to you. I don't care how popular or successful you are as a detective. You don't do that. And you don't take your children, younger than 10 years old, to a fucking crime scene that you have every reason to believe will be a grisly murder. You don't do that. We also have an interesting character in this drag queen named Liz Taylor, which I can only imagine, if the actress was still alive today, would probably be taking legal action right now. The character is interesting, but like so many other plot elements, is completely unnecessary. Like, you don't really see any reason for him to be there. He doesn't really fulfill any meaningful role. He has a couple of interesting lines that are delivered cryptically and will probably never be explained. But other than that, it's just like, why is this person here? He's neat. He's obviously the only one that really gives enough of a shit to give a good performance, but he really doesn't need to be there. The landscape of sound in this series is absolutely abysmal. You would think that a series that features a musician in a major role would actually have a better soundscape than this does. It is awful. The soundtrack is also awful. They have chosen all the wrong songs, all the wrong music. Even the sound is bad. Like, the sound period is bad. But it really reaches an absolute nadir when you see the corny Nosferatu sequence. Just in case we didn't get, the whole vampire thing. The music that accompanies that scene never seems to fucking end, and it's terrible. It is absolutely awful. It's like a Ringo song gone horribly wrong, and I say that not to try and insult Ringo, but a Ringo song is something where there's not a lot of variation in the notes or the key. When Ringo was in the Beatles, usually it was Paul and John would get together and write a song for him that he could sing on every album. And it would be a song that would not be challenging to sing. It would be a song that, wouldn't require a lot of highs and lows. It wouldn't require a lot of vocal ability. This is a song like that, and those can be really good songs. Like, typically Ringo's songs were actually pretty good. And the songs that he sang in his solo career were pretty good. But this is a Ringo song done especially poorly. Everything about it is monotonous and droning, and it doesn't help that the scene accompanying it is corny and stupid. Lady Gaga plays a character named Elizabeth. I think anybody can figure out where they're trying to go with this. There's obviously going to be some big reveal that either she's Elizabeth Bathory or she models herself after that character. Either way, it's an obvious homage. I did this in Lamia 5 years ago, okay? This is nothing new. It's not imaginatively presented in American Horror Story. And I feel like the whole collection of kids, etc., I feel like this whole thing is actually ripping off my own comic. Which is sad because I was trying to camp it up myself. But even I, 5 years ago, had more going on than American Horror Story Hotel has going on. And I can't help but feel a little bit insulted that this is what they're doing with it. It kind of pisses me off. And it comes off as someone's bizarre fanfiction of Lady Gaga as a vampire. And it's not someone that really knows her and knows who she's supposed to be. Not even knows, like, her persona. It's someone who has heard about her, maybe listened to a song, and has this dumbed-down, kiddish view of her. She's so boring. On the screen, she's so boring. She's like someone maybe 10 years old heard about Lady Gaga from their parents, heard that she was supposed to be shocking and controversial, and decided to write a story where she's a vampire. And this is sort of like the immature, sophomoric level of the show. It's not very mature. It's not very entertaining either. It's just all bland and dumbed down. And it's like they don't know how sex works. They don't know how horror works. They don't know how building suspense works. It's all very much the fascination with the idea of these things, or the image of these things, where they're obviously thinking that it's way more sensual and appealing than it really is, or it's way more shocking and horrifying than it really is. It's just boring, really. It's not sexy in any way. Ever. Not even once. There are so many naked butts and almost dicks that we can see in this. There are so many nipple-covered boobs. There's so many butt cracks. And yet nothing is even remotely appealing, even on the most basic level. It is a failure to be shocking, surprising, or sexy. It's none of these things, and it does not build suspense because ultimately we don't give a shit. I'm a big opponent of any sort of censorship, but even I will say, just because you can shock doesn't mean you should, and just because you try doesn't mean it's actually going to work. We have a fashion designer pop up. Apparently this is the most successful fashion designer in the universe because he's bought a hotel. He decides to go through with some assistant and basically just runs into people's rooms, not even bothering to check if they're dressed or if they're ready for him or anything like that. I'm sorry, but that's not the way things work. Maybe if you're a giant asshole and you think it's okay if someone beats the living shit out of you, because someone is gonna do that. If you go into an occupied hotel and start walking into people's rooms, they cannot really be blamed for beating the living bejesus out of you. It's stupid. It's unbelievable. It's like the rest of this stupid story. It just makes me less willing to suspend my disbelief because it's ludicrous on the surface, right there. It's ludicrous below the surface. There's no real reason for this to happen. And despite the better actors that get shit parts in this episode, this arsehole fashion designer who could not act his way out of a paper bag, he obviously went to the same school as the camp detective, stays on the screen for way too long, and he's clearly going to be a recurring character that keeps on at least one more episode. I don't even want any more of him now. But getting back to it, this just comes back to the point that they refuse to try to keep their murder hotel secret. Like, what the hell? Keep your murder hotel a secret! But I guess that really says it all about this hot donkey mess of an episode. This is the worst intro to any American Horror Story season I've ever seen. Part of me is curious as to how it can get worse, because as we all know, American Horror Story seasons always get worse as they go. Ending on the song Hotel California is the poster child for we're doing it just because we can. It's tacky, it's puerile, and in many ways it's kind of offensive. It's just really dumb. Hopefully it'll get better, but I'm not going to hold my breath. How do you feel about it? I'm always interested in a conversation with people that listen, so please let me know your thoughts. Please do follow me on social media. I have links in the comment for all of my social media, for my comics, for all the things that I do that you can check out. You can check out my new website, which has links to all of these things. And I hope I'll see you next time here for Let's H. Thanks to everyone that's kept up with me up to now. Thanks to everyone who's hopped on this time. See you again very soon. Bye.